Oh, yeah. Just scratch your lip, Karl.
It's not my nip, it's the microphone bell end.
I just looked at the thing, it looked like...
Yeah, absolute bell sniff. Lucas, I need something to open my beer with. Have you got something to open my beer with?
It's a screw cap, so no.
Oh, wait, wrong way. You ruined that bit. Anyway, let's talk about Superman. Superman, the new Superman Adventures, better known simply as Superman 64, is a piece of shit video game released sometime in the 90s that is widely considered one of the worst pieces of entertainment media ever released, which isn't surprising when you consider that DC Comics... Is it DC Comics? Or is it just DC? Because doesn't DC stand for Detective Comics? So it's Detective... What?
Let's just say DC.
Okay, so that DC... sorry. Well, I lost my train wreck of thought. Yes. Which isn't all that surprising, considering that DC tried and partially succeeded in killing the game in the crib. Can we use that take? Should we use that take? I've not even started drinking yet. Okay. Right. In fact, that's not all that surprising when you consider that DC tried and partially succeeded in killing the game in the crib. I earned a beer for that one. Do you want a drink anyway, pal?
Yeah, sure.
You've got your strongbow in here, what's that? Do you want a strongbow or do you want a beer?
Either. Just pass me something alcoholic.
That's right, there's a beer fridge right down there, folks. Here you go, here's a lovely strongbow for you. Hi, close to the camera now. It's like my Big Wangers t-shirt, it costs money. Buy it in the merch store. Yeah! Drinking episode, let's go.
So, imagining most people haven't played this atrocity of a game.
The thing is, though, that's not true because the game actually sold really well. Because this game was released before the era of hyperbolic, YouTube headlines saying worst game ever made. I would like a smattering of which I would like behind me for this game because when you search Superman 64 on YouTube, you just get here's just like a crash course in everything wrong with the platform. Because it's just like big, dumb, screaming faces like this, just like doing their best Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Just on the front with just like, and it's always the same picture of Superman, like a really blocky polygon Superman flying through a ring.
Oh, always, yeah.
And I looked it up recently, I didn't believe it, that this game actually turned a profit. And it turned so much of a profit, they were actually planning on porting it to like the PlayStation 1 or something like that. So it's like I said, this is before the days when the public could find out day one, sometimes before day one of release, that this game sucks ass. So chances are there are a lot of people out there who've actually played this game. But for those who haven't, you basically take control of Superman as you fly around a version of Metropolis that is inexplicably always covered with a thick layer of piss green fog.
Very thick.
So do you remember, presumably you know about this game, so
I know about it.
Do you remember what the explanation is for why Metropolis is always covered in fog?
Isn't it like Lex Luthor's covered this city in some kryptonite chemical fog?
Kryptonite fog, yeah. Well, that's the rumour. Do you know what the actual explanation is? There isn't one.
Oh!
Yeah, the kryptonite fog thing was a joke said by a developer when they were asked by someone, why does this game look like you've got a piss filter on it? And they joked, no, it's kryptonite fog. In-game, there's no explanation for what that is. It's just, apparently, Metropolis is just constantly covered in just like green fart gas.
Cool.
The game's not great, is what we're trying to say. With the thumbnails that are behind me right now, it probably goes without saying, but this video game has consistently topped worst video game lists and is considered one of the worst pieces of entertainment media ever put out by a company.
It's not got a great rate.
It's not. I think it has like a solid 0% on Metacritic, which is really funny. Right? One of my, I don't want to say hobbies because it sounds really sad, but something that I quite like doing in my downtime is just looking up either historically well received or historically poorly received pieces of media. For example, go look at Jurassic Park on Wikipedia, and then go to the section that says reception, and then see who was the contrarian asshole who said this thing sucks. Alternatively, go on to something that's terrible, for example, let's say, what's Sony Smash called? What's the actual name?
Oh, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. What a catchy name.
Because if you read the Wikipedia page and go to reception, there are actually people who gave it a positive review, saying, oh yeah, this game's really fun. 7 out of 10. And then you just go, well, let's just get their name. Who they write for? IGN. Okay, let's just ignore them for future.
No, to be fair, that game is swimming in sevens, Karl.
It's like swimming in fucking sevens. I like that. It's like a consistently acceptable is the way I describe the game. Like, I just want to shit on Sony Smash for a bit of how bad it is. Like, fucking hell, that is Sony Smash so bad. Like, I think of all things that sum up how bad that game is that Big Daddy, a character from an Xbox exclusive game for the first half of its life cycle, is on the box. That says Sony All-Stars, but Lara Croft, Crash Bandicoot, and Spyro the fucking Dragon are nowhere to be seen. But you can get Kilgore Man.
Oh, yeah.
But you can have Killzone Man. It's like,
I can't even remember his name. That memorable character.
Captain Hellgas. I am embarrassed that I know that. That is like the command.
No,
it's Captain Raddick.
Raddick, yeah.
Raddick.
They are the Hellgas.
The memorable character, Raddick. Do you know whose name I never forget? Lara fucking Croft. I still like, though, that there were people out there who said, do you know what they should have put in it? The car from Ridge Racer. They should have put it in, because that's a more memorable character than, like, Colonel Raddick.
I've just got the image of, you know, like that Sonic Fighters when they had the Daytona car as a fighter in that.
They should have put that in. Oh, in Enter the Matrix. Enter the Matrix, fun fact, has a secret multiplayer mode that you access by inputting a cheat. And each level you fight as like a different character, and one of the levels you fight as a car. And it's exactly like Daytona. Yeah. So cool. Oh, who's your favourite character from Sony Smash? Is it Bad Dante?
Is it? That's the thing is, could we get Solid Snake in it? Oh no, because Metal Gear Revengeance is coming out, so use Raiden.
Not bad, because that is a sick. Revengeance is a good game.
But then, can we use classic Dante? No, use the new one because DMC's coming out. No.
So bad. I still think one of my favourite clips of a YouTube video is when the best friends played it, and they get when Dante's face comes on screen, they just go, yeah. It so perfectly sums up that character of just his face and just someone just going, Kee. It's just so shit. Because in that game, he looks like Bad Ken.
Yeah.
You feel like people don't know what Bad Ken is. There's there was a costume in Street Fighter V where they cut off Ken Masters' famous luscious locks and gave him a really shit haircut. And some hero whose name I do not know drew a comic, and it's just Ryu and Ken in the 90s saying, Ken, let's train to get good. And it says 25 years later, and you've got just this immaculate pencil rendition of Hot Ryu. Bearded Ryu. And then opposite is just this picture of bad haircut Ken. It just says, Ken, are you okay? It gets me every time. I've got it saved on my phone just so I can go and look at it every now and again. Oh man, bad haircut Ken. Oh man, what is the worst character redesign? That springs to mind for you. Since we're speaking about video games and bad interpretations of characters in video games.
I mean, obviously right now we're talking about it, and I've got to just mention as well, special credit to Virgin Virgil out of that DMC game as well.
Man, yeah, DMC. I told you about this morning. Because we were playing Devil May Cry 5.
We were, yeah.
And I was saying, here's, spoilers, Virgil in there. Okay, look how cool he looks. Look how awesome his outfit is. And, but then in DMC, when he's performing 360 no-scope abortions, which actually happens in the game, I'm not making that up, and he constantly wears a fedora that they took out in the definitive edition because so many people made fun of it. And fans of the game, of the original Devil May Cry series, called Dante Dino, Dante name only, or Dante, for not being Dante, and they called Virgil Virgin. Because he's just got a katana and a fedora and a trench coat. So he is that dude.
He's trying so hard.
The best bit about that game is just the Virgil mobile. He's got a car that just has a big V on the dashboard for Virgil. It's why does Virgil need a car? He can teleport. He can teleport. And he has a sword that cuts through dimensions. He's basically Nightcrawler. Why does he drive to work? It's just imagine him in fucking traffic. He gets pulled over, he's got his katana outside seat, he's wearing his little hat.
They just tried to give him a ticket and he just cuts through a dimension and teleports
He just
away.
says, now I'm motivated. As he pulls into traffic, he's like, oh man, I'm just living that 9-5 life.
How many cars do you reckon he's just abandoned, getting stuck in traffic and teleporting away from?
You just never want to see a game character that you like that. It reminds me of a friend of mine when he was playing through Grand Theft Auto 4, when he got to like the main city. He dressed Nico Bellic up in a perfectly grey suit and then just drove a taxi. And he refused to do the story mode. And he'd just walk around in the grey suit and eat burgers. Like, this is not the Nico I want.
That is the American life he's going to get.
It's just a man in a grey suit eating $1 burgers, driving a cab. It's like, no!
So, who the fuck made this game?
But Superman 64, it was made by a company called Titus Interactive, who are admittedly a relatively small studio. And a lot of people wonder, like, why did such a small studio then be given such a massive IP, the Superman IP? And the story goes that nobody else wanted it, because at the time they didn't think a Superman game would be popular. And apparently behind the scenes, initially Titus Interactive were dealing with DC and they were very amenable to all of their needs, their wants, their requests for information and stuff they can use with characters and that sort of thing, until I think the marketing department or something, or the department they were interacting with, basically all got fired and then replaced.
Oh.
And this marketing department thought, do you know who would make a better game? And this will date when this was made, EA. That's a game company who makes really good games that people always love. Let's get them in. And apparently what this new marketing team did is basically try to just kneecap the project at every opportunity to get Titus Interactive to just give up.
Oh, right.
And they heroically struggled on and ended up making the piece of shit we all know and love today.
So they were basically trying to make them stop producing this game?
Yes, so we can then go sell it to EA, who never make bad games or get any bad press. EA. EA.
It's in the game.
What's the last thing EA did that was actually good? Like that isn't another company that they bought and then killed.
Yeah.
That they did. Is it EA big? Like, have they topped EA? Have they topped Burnout yet? Has Burnout been topped?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, like Burnout Revenge. Has Burnout Revenge been topped?
I don't think it has. I don't think
Burnout Paradise was just like, all right.
I reckon if like Burnout Revenge was released alongside Citizen Kane, that'd be the thing we use, the gauge of quality. So I reckon if Orson Welles would have played Burnout Revenge, he would have just given up. He would just been he's like, media cannot transcend this, I'm done. Fuck that Citizen Kane bollocks, this is it.
So Karl, you say that you like EA big.
Yeah.
Should we try and get it trending of bring back EA as EA big wangers?
No, I just liked EA bigs. Aren't they the ones made all the sports games?
They're the ones that made FIFA Street and SSX. They're the extreme sports
because
games.
I liked how they had a connected universe. Do you remember this?
Not really.
Because if you remember, all those games had a DJ. They had radio, a place on a DJ. And in SSX, I think it was DJ Atomica. Oh, and then you had DJ Crash for Burnout. And DJ Atomica would mention DJ Crash, and DJ Crash would mention DJ Atomica.
That's cool.
And he'd say, up on SSX Mountain, things are like burnt. It's like, oh my God. So while I'm driving around in this city, ramping my school bus into fuel tankers and shit like that, somewhere up on that mountain is just Kaori, this tiny Japanese girl, just humping her snowboard while rotating at hyperspeed.
Why have we never got that crossover of Crash mode on an SSX mountain?
What, like Dave Mirra's Crash mode, where you just bail?
So you say that they tried to just run this game into the ground?
Yes, kill it in the crib, kneecap it at every opportunity.
How did they manage that?
Well, according to the lead director of Superman 64, a guy called Eric Kane, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, he said, essentially, they just stopped talking to us and they made everything just this laborious, torturous process that made us want to shoot ourselves. Because they dragged, DC, according to him, dragged their heels on everything that they wanted to get cleared, to the point it became very clear that DC were doing this deliberately to annoy them, presumably to get them to stop making the game, which they didn't, and the result was Superman 64.
So have you got any more specific examples of how they tried to just cane this project?
Perhaps the best example is the fact that DC insisted that Titus Interactive got everything cleared. And I mean everything. And they made them somewhat ironically, considering what you spend most... It's annoying that, because it's quite a good joke, and I'm proud of the fact that I wrote it. But anyway, somewhat ironically, considering what you spend most of the Superman... They made them, somewhat ironically, considering what you spend most of Superman 64 doing, jump through a lot of hoops to get anything cleared for the game. For example, it took them months to get DC to sign off on a scene where Superman flies underwater, because DC said it will affect the legacy of Superman, and if you want to put this in your game, you have to provide us with a comic panel showing that Superman can swim. So they then had to spend countless man hours trawling through the comics. Bear in mind, this is before the days of the internet.
Where you could just Google search it and find the image.
Yeah, you can do, presumably there's an image of Superman swimming right behind me right now, which took all of 5 minutes to find. But no, they spent weeks finding a specific comic panel showing that a man who can fly into space and exist there can swim. And then send that to DC, who then went, okay, I guess you can include that scene of Superman swimming. And now imagine that for every possible interaction Superman was going to have. And then you have a rough idea of just how annoying it was to produce this game.
So, anything else other than Superman not being able to swim?
Yeah, I like that. That DC said, Superman, the guy who can fly through space, he can't swim, prove it. We don't believe you. Another one that is quite funny is that DC thought the idea of a Superman action game wasn't very good, and instead heavily encouraged Titus Interactive to pursue the idea of a sim management game where you played as Mayor Superman and you had to manage Metropolis that way.
What?
Which Titus Interactive said no, because that's shit, but they still had to deal with DC trying to get them to do that.
I would have been, as Titus, gone, find me the comic panel of Mayor Superman.
And they'd probably write it, they were being that petty, but that reminds me though of actually a really good mechanic from a very bad game. I think it's like Superman Returns, where in that game, you're playing as Superman. Superman can't die, Superman doesn't have a life bar, but the city does. In the game, the city has a life bar, but Superman doesn't. The game's terrible, but I always like that idea. So it was it's not without precedent, but DC weren't thinking of that. They was no, make the game sound as boring as possible so the company backs off and we can sell it to EA. EA, folks. EA. So do you know what this does to me? This really just puts into perspective all the marketing decisions that DC have made. So yeah, Joey should partner with EA. That'd be great. That'd be a great idea. Right, moving swiftly on, another thing that DC didn't like is the fact that in the game, it's an action game, Superman punches people. So they said, well, we can't have a video game of Superman punching people, even though that's basically all Superman does in the comics. So if you want to make this game, Superman is not allowed to harm a human being. I should point out that DC said this when they knew full well that the entirety of the game revolved around punching people as Superman. So what Titus had to do is rewrite the game's storyline and say that you're not actually in Metropolis, you are in a digital recreation of it created by Lex Luthor. So they could say that everybody you're punching is just a digital construct, and therefore Superman is not actually hurting a human being.
Wow.
Yeah. So fair play to them. They found the loophole that let them, continue making the game as they wanted.
They did, but that's depressing.
This is where it gets just a little bit more hilarious, because Titus spent months and months and months creating a new physics engine for the game that allowed Superman to rip parts of the environment off and use them as weapons. So he could pick up cars, he could go up to a wall, pull off a piece of the wall, throw it, use it as a weapon. And after they spent months doing that, DC said, actually, we don't want Superman to be shown destroying the environment. That doesn't gel with our idea of the character. It'll impact his legacy. Even though, as I mentioned, they knew the game was in a digital recreation of Metropolis, so nothing he was doing was actually real. But no, they said that. And I would just like people to keep that in mind. That quote from DC of, do not show Superman destroying us. And Lucas is laughing now because he knows what I'm going to say. And what is it, Lucas?
Oh, flash forward to Man of Steel, where he destroys the entire city.
Where he's just eye lasering through skyscrapers. It's Superman doesn't hurt people. General Zod. Chris Redfield in his way through the world.
He punches him through half of Metropolis.
And lasers it in half with his eyeballs. So good. So yeah, folks, just keep that in mind. 20 years ago, DC's we can't show Superman, hurting people, and then years later, he's just leveling buildings on top of them. I still want there to be an edit of that movie where during that entire fight scene, all you can hear is just screaming. Someone needs to make that. Can we do that? Whoever edits this video, can you just like go find like a disaster movie and get a sound from that of people screaming and just put it over Superman leveling a building? Because that's all you should hear as he does that.
And that's one thing I do like about Batman vs Superman is just the opening shot of Batman running through Superman
is
just fucking up the entire scene.
It's like Superman's firing 9/11s from his eyes. What the fuck is going on here, man? So I personally have shit on, like, you know, the Snyderverse a lot in these videos because it's not very good. But I have a particular distaste for the specific hashtag of release the Snyder Cut. Because I'm not sure if you were aware of this, or if you follow me on Twitter at all, but the only tweets I've ever sent, ever, in my history on social media that I've had to mute is one criticising Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and Justice League because people with hashtag release the Snyder Cut in their names and their bios would not stop responding to it and calling me. And it got so annoying because it was happening every 5 minutes. And I checked and I found a suitably dark and depressing corner of the internet where there are people out there who insist that there is a Snyder out there that will save Justice League. So what is your interaction with this, if at all? And what are your thoughts on it?
I haven't had much interaction with it, but I think it says a lot that they put most of Superman's scenes with the shit like CGI mustache from the Joss Whedon cut. They still prefer to put that shit CGI face in
instead of what
Zack Snyder made.
Yeah, but have you seen any of the stuff? Like I said, we're gonna get both of us right now, Lucas. You're gonna get angry tweets about this because people insist that this exists and it's better. Did you see when Comic-Con happened, where fans of Zack Snyder got a billboard erected with hashtag release the Snyder Cut on it? Well, there weren't enough of them to afford a billboard in a prominent enough location, so it was 5 blocks over.
Oh.
And then 40 people stood in front of it and then tweeted it at Marvel as they're in Hall H with 5,000 people just frothing at the mouth to see Endgame trailers. And it's a curio for me at this point in time. Where it's of all the things to attach your ego and personality to, it's this.
It's that a shit movie potentially will be made more
palatable.
I know it's going to be more shit, but in their head more palatable.
Yeah, or at the very least more consistent with the universe as it was established previously. I can get it from that, but it's so baffling to me just how like I said, it's the only tweet I've ever sent where I had to mute it because I was every 5 minutes another person with, and I'm not making this up, Batman versus Superman as their fucking avatar.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I'll try and track down some of the edited out screenshots with names edited out, where I think someone's put it was their bio was fan of movies, Zack Snyder is a god.
Oh, God.
Best movies are Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel, Marvel is trash. It's is this Martin Scorsese? Fucking hell, what's going on? We had to do it. It's oh man, we can't Marvel fans aren't much better. I remember that one.
To be fair,
the guy who directed Godfather says Marvel movies aren't as good as Godfather. What the fuck does he know? Well,
Martin Scorsese said he doesn't like Marvel films. He might love Batman vs Superman.
Oh, can you imagine that?
He might be a release the Snyder Cut guy.
Can you imagine that? There's a new quote. We managed to track down Martin Scorsese at some random function, and he had one quote about this, and it was hashtag release the Snyder Cut. Oh my God. That'd be it. That'd be game over. That's the world implodes right there. Can you imagine if he just came out and did that? If all these really big, they managed to track down all these really big directors, all the people who are shitting on Marvel movies, and asked them, so what do you think about Oh, I love DC. Zack Snyder's a visionary genius. I love that part where Superman broke Zod's neck. I love that part where he levels half a building.
Oh God, I love that part where they made Batman vs Superman a boring film.
Yeah, I love that part where Superman drowns in a pit of skulls and my child started crying. As much as I like to shit on it, I will give props to the hashtag release the Snyder Cut people for being huge advocates for just teaching film literacy in school.
Yeah.
Because one of my favourite things about it is people saying, oh yeah, you just don't get the movie. You don't get the symbolism. And then you put in a clip right now of Superman being told, you're the only one who can save us all. and it's his face, and then Jesus' face is in the background because he's in church. Or the part where he goes into space and he does like the cross.
Or the bit where he comes down to save the family in the flood.
And the lights behind him.
Yeah.
And then you get people on Twitter telling me I don't understand symbolism, or I can't see, like, Zack Snyder's vision. It's like anyone can. It's like, it's not hard. The symbolism is not dense here. It's like, that's all the one props I'll give it off. You are a reason I think film literature should be taught, so people don't seem that fucking stupid. I think there was an article out there, and I hope to God it's not genuine, because it's depressing if it is, where it's something like, oh yeah, symbolism, or it's like movies with symbolism you may have missed. And one of the things is, the Jesus allegories in Superman. It's like, what? He stands in church next to Jesus.
Oh,
it's like, oh God,
he ascends from the heaven to save a family.
From a flood.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. It's, oh my God, it's so bad. Marvel movies, like, they're like cheesy popcorn flicks, but at the same time, they're not pretending to be high art. And if they did, I'd find them just as, like distasteful, because that's what gets me about it. The idea, it's dark and it's depressing, so therefore it's good because it means it's deep and it has meaning to it. It doesn't. It's a tights and cape flick. Just because he drowns in a pit of skull. That's the fuck it. I'm done.